Hi, I'm Lauren, and welcome to my Summative Report. Introduction of 2D. Caden is a male first grader who is very sweet and kind. He loves superheroes and his Xbox. For Halloween, he dressed up like Spider-Man, and his two younger brothers were the Hulk and Superman. Caden is a very giggly little boy, and he loves to laugh and to make others laugh. Throughout our sessions, I learned that Caden really loves to learn and that he is focused and dedicated to learning everything he can. He has a lot of intrinsic motivation for a first grader. Working with Caden was such a joy. He was a good listener and always came into our lessons with a positive and happy attitude. Pre-assessment results. During the original pre-assessment, the only section that he mastered was the concepts about print section. When I gave him the book, he was able to hold it correctly, point to the title, understand that the title says something about the story, and he was also able to find the first page. Another area in which he excelled was the letter recognition section. During the pre-assessment, he identified 24 of the 26 letters correctly. Caden struggled with all of the other sections on the pre-assessment. Caden did decently well when he was asked to hear and say initial sounds in spoken words. He struggled a lot when he was asked to blend and break down sounds. When asked to read the letter sounds, he completed set 1 to mastery, but he missed one sound. I had to terminate the assessment during the set 2 of this section because he missed 4 items within the set. After reviewing the pre-assessment results, I discovered that Caden's ability to manipulate sounds, or his phonemic awareness, needs great improvement. Because Caden only mastered the concepts about print section of the assessment, I was unable to move on to determine his baseline of sight words, word skills, vocabulary, or comprehension. Because of this, we started Caden with Tutor Plan 1. Now I will walk you through the objectives and the corresponding activities. The first objective, phonemic awareness, hears and says initial sounds. The activity that was chosen for this objective was naming the sound. During our first sessions, I was surprised that he got all of the sounds correctly on the first try because he missed 2 on the pre-assessment. Out of these initial sounds, he really struggled with the TH sound. After reviewing the scope and sequence chart, I identified that he was just learning this sound in his Tier 1 reading instruction. The next objective is Phonemic Awareness 2, blend sounds together to say a word. The chosen activity for this objective was identifying phonemes. This activity was slow to start, but once he got used to what he was being asked, he breezed through it. He struggled with a few words, but overall his blending skills had improved from the pre-assessment. Phonemic Awareness 3, segment sounds. The activity chosen for this objective is called Playing Break It Down. Segmenting sounds continue to be an area of struggle out of this tutor plan, and we spent the majority of our sessions working to break down sounds. He did enjoy getting to use the Elkanon box I created. After reviewing the results of the 4 sessions, I noticed that he struggled the most with breaking down words that have the short U sound in them. The final objective in this tutor plan was Letter Skills 1, identifies or reads letter sounds. The activity chosen for this objective was identifying letter sounds. During the pre-assessment, Caden struggled with the sounds O, K, and B. After the 4 lessons and this simple card game activity, he had mastered all of these letter sounds. Caden was really excited when I began to time his speed. I timed on my phone to see how fast he could pick up each letter card. This got him engaged in the activity and gave us both a good laugh. Reassessment and Formative Assessment 2. Caden's data from the last assessment showed that he got to move on to Tutor Plan 2. Now I will share the objectives and activities and his growth. The first objective for this tutor plan was breaks down a sound orally. was Phonemic Awareness 3, breaks down a word orally, and the activity was playing Tap It Out. Something that Caden consistently struggled with was saying the correct sound when segmenting words. Usually he would guess at the last sound. After implementing this activity with the Skittles, that I will talk more about in the strategy section of this presentation, his results on his assessment and his overall automaticity increased. The next objective is identifies letter sounds. The activity was identifying letter sounds. Caden learned 3 new vowel sounds after working on them for these 4 lessons. He has now mastered A-E, I-E, and O-E. While we were working on these sounds, I also focused instruction on the matching phrases that go with each vowel sound. Caden thought it was really fun, and he loved pretending he was baking a cake, being a crocodile, and being on the phone. The next objective is WS1, reads words using blending. The activity is blending sounds into words. Caden struggled to consistently answer these questions accurately. He does not have any problems orally saying each letter sound, but when he was asked to recall them quickly and blend them together, he often got the letters jumbled and he couldn't read the word. Similarly, as in the Tap It Out activity, Caden oftentimes says the incorrect last consonant sound. The next objective is Word Skills 2, spells a word by breaking it into separate sounds, and the activity chosen was counting sounds. This activity is also where Caden struggled to remember the last consonant sound. To help him learn, I came up with a signal to use to remind him to keep in his head the last consonant sound, which I will discuss further when I talk about my favorite strategies. The final objective was SW1, recalls essential sight words, and this activity was sight word picture cards. Because this was our first time in Tutor Plan 2, sight words was a new activity for Caden and I. I had learned that Caden's learning style is pretty visual and auditory, so I thought that drilling would be the most effective in helping Caden learn these new sight words. Summative assessment results. Based on the formative assessment results and my final 3 lessons, I would say that Caden excelled in letter skills, identifying sight words, and also in concepts about print, which he had already mastered before we even started our tutoring. Caden learned 5 new vowel sounds during our time together, as well as 10 new sight words. Caden is still developing his skills in phonemic awareness, such as breaking down sounds orally and segmenting sounds. He is also developing his word skills. While these skills are still developing, the data show that Caden has made great gains in all 3 of these areas. I was overjoyed by his progress from the pre-assessment to the final reassessment. He was able to master the first part of the reading assessment, and he was working towards mastering the second part of the reading assessment as well. He also made strides in his ability to engage in a conversation with me. Now I will talk about my favorite strategies. For the playing Tap It Out activity, I enhanced it by bringing in an element of sound. I would say the word Kate to Caden, and then I would drop a Skittle into his bowl each time he said the sound. This helped to remind him that he needs to break down each word into all of the individual sounds. At the beginning of tutoring, Caden would often miss the last phoneme when breaking down a sound. For example, if I said the word pig, Caden would often break it down as p-I-t or p-I-n. This auditory element greatly helped Caden improve his ability to break down words. Another strategy I liked implementing was a made-up strategy that I created right on the spot. The most consistent struggle for Caden is remembering the last consonant sound when breaking down a word. To help him learn, I came up with a signal to use to remind him to keep in his head the last consonant sound. After I would say the word he was going to write, I would prompt him by saying, "Remember the last sound in your head so you remember it when you are writing." When he would come to the last consonant sound while writing, I would hold my hand up to my ear and say, "Remember the last sound." He responded very well to this. While the results of the activity did not support this claim, I could tell by the scores of his reassessment and through my observation that he was starting to learn and remember how to make sure he gets the last sound correct in all of the activities. I found myself adapting most of the strategies that were found in the SFA manual, not drastically, mostly small things and on the spot during our tutoring lessons, based on the student's immediate response to the activities. Relationship to science of reading concepts and final recommendation for 2D. The science of reading is all the methods or approaches that have been found through research to give kids a learning advantage in reading. I think the concepts most specific to my tutoring experience were phonemic awareness and word skills. These were the two areas where Caden struggled most profoundly. The science of reading helped me understand that these things are essential for Caden to learn in order for him to successfully learn how to read. Caden will not be able to comprehend if he is unable to implement his phonemic awareness and word skills while reading. This is why I made sure that the strategies I used to help him overcome these struggles were all backed by research. Next steps for Caden would be to continue working where we left off out of Tutor Plan 3. I would repeat the same tutor plan but change a few of the activities. I think changing the activities would help Caden stay motivated and driven to learn. I definitely think Caden will reach grade level with some continued extra help. The first research article that I want to share is the article about trauma. It is important to be aware of the ways in which trauma in children presents itself. Most times, children are not going to come to the teacher and explicitly tell them what is going on at home or wherever they are experiencing the trauma. This is because they do not even quite understand what they are going through. This trauma can become a part of a student's daily life that he or she does not even know that it is abnormal to be experiencing these things. As sad as it sounds, sometimes trauma is all these students know. The second research article I want to share is the article about poverty. I think the role of poverty is huge in our classrooms. I do think by this point in my senior year, I have experienced a little bit more when it comes to students who are experiencing poverty. I've been in classrooms in Steubenville where the students have had to be sent to the office because they had holes in their shoes or their clothes smelled like they had not been washed in weeks. As a future educator, I will ensure that my classroom is full of equal opportunities. One way in doing this is implementing a reading backpack where you would fill the backpack with age-appropriate books, and each weekend a student would get to take home this backpack and keep it until Thursday of the next week. I think this is a great way to provide a source of help to those students experiencing poverty without directly singling them out. This class has also helped me prepare for future job interviews. In my tutor experience, I learned how to articulate the importance of gathering and reviewing data. It is one thing to track data and write it down, but if you do not take any steps other than that and file that data away forever, there is no point in gathering the data in the first place. As an educator, I have learned that I need to analyze data in order to make instructional decisions. After each session, I sat down with my data and made instructional decisions about the next session. This greatly impacted my 2D's progress throughout the semester. Another learning experience that I could bring into a job interview is my ability to implement a reading diagnostic exam. After completing this course, I have successfully engaged in 5 different sessions of implementing a reading assessment. I can take this knowledge and speak about my experience of following the given instructions on the assessment and trying to get rid of my biases. Thanks for watching.